What style of Dungeon Master are you? Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. I've been watching a few more videos than normal and seeing other discussions about reactive or responsive dungeon mastering, and so it got me thinking about what style of dungeon master am I? And maybe it's my arrogance, but I think I fit in a different category. And the reason I say that is because when I started gaming, it was with original Dungeons and Dragons at the very beginning, and we were isolated. I was gaming in Europe, and so we had to. I was on an army base in Germany, and there weren't any hobby stores that had anything like that. You had to get some other guys who were in the military to play games with you, and most of them were war gamers and so on, and so you had to offer a variety of things. And I started out just doing something different, I guess. And what I mean by that was I started writing down ideas. I've mentioned this before. This was my first book of ideas. So I would think about things, and I started putting down story ideas or plots. Let's put it that way. 1 line, 2 line, maybe 5 line at the extreme. And as I was running various adventures, I would start introducing these options to players as they're pursuing one or the other. And it sort of, to me, became fun was, oh, let's dangle this new shiny bauble in front of the party and see if they grab it. So what happened was I got in the habit of introducing new and different plot hooks all the time. So the party often went in as the saying goes, a random walk. They would head off in one way, trying to do something, and my goal sort of, oh, let's distract them and have them go someplace else. And that was the way I started, was so that you would always be continually finding new things, new ideas, new possible quests. Sort of like, why is Skyrim called open world? Because as you wander through, you hear about new quests, new things all the time, which you may or may not pursue, or you may go do something and then come back. So I got into the idea of the open world, and I guess is the best way to describe it, that very rarely did I ever railroad a party. The last time I did that, I was very hesitant to do it, but the party was heading off towards something that I wasn't prepared to run. And I felt very bad about it, and to this day it still bothers me that I forced them to take a side quest because they had to. You can do things to force the party to do various things, but I prefer not to. I prefer to let the party do whatever it wants. This has had some interesting consequences, by the way. When the party is, oh, we're off heading to point A, that's where we're going. Well, that's actually not the real consensus of the party, but that's one of the leaders of the party is sort of cajoled and convinced everybody they should go in that way. And then we get to an adventure where that player can't make the game. And the question is, well, what do we do? Well, we were going to point A. They go, well, yeah, but I'm really not that interested in point A. Point B over here sounds so much more interesting. So the party changes direction and heads off toward point B. Then when player A comes back, he's either got to convince the party to go back to the direction of point A or continue on to point B now. And meanwhile, I've introduced 4 more options for them to decide where they want to go. And the goal is you continually introduce new ideas and new concepts. And as the DM, you have to keep track of what you've introduced to the players. Because that's the real fun part. Because they go through, they completed some quest, or they're almost completing one little thing, and they find out that something happened related to one of the other quests or that they've heard about in the past. So they go, oh, maybe we should have done that. Oh, well, we got to finish this one up first. Now let's go check that one out. So that you've got this living, breathing world where things happen. And that you never, like, what was it? The phrase was quantum ogre, where, behind door A, you got 3 doors, door 1, door 2, door 3, and all 3 of them have an ogre, but you're not sure where the ogre is going to apply. My view is, okay, you give the players 3 doors, and they decide, oh no, we'll go someplace else rather than go through any of those 3 doors. That's the better way to play, or that's the way I game. That's the way I run my dungeon, because I find it much more interesting to do that. And that's the idea, is that I want to polish up and hone my craft of introducing new and exciting plots into the game. So the way I know I'm succeeding is if the party keeps changing where they're going. It's sort of nefarious. You're not hurting the players, you're not fighting them, you're not killing them, but they've heard about, oh, let's go do this, no, let's go do that. And the other interesting thing is that you can tie that to moral questions, which is one of the things that I did in the world of Tiglath. Because the question is do you want to fight to restore your country? In the world of Tiglath, in the previous adventures, your country has just recently been overrun, the king has been killed, and the government basically replaced en masse by an invading army. Do you fight to try and kick out the invaders, or do you just take advantage of the situation, or do you actually try and support the new invaders? I've had the party vacillate between fighting the invaders and just taking advantage of the situation, leading more toward trying to fight the invaders, and they hear various ideas how they could possibly be driven out and so on. The question I'm planning when I reboot this campaign is a little bit different. And this is the world of Tiglath. It will be set 50 plus years later. So now you've had a government in power for 50 years. And do you try and overthrow it? You're 50 years from the time when they took over. So this is the moral question. Again, do you try and overthrow the established government? Do you try and work with the established government to oust the people who are trying to overthrow the government? Or do you just take advantage of the situation? And which path do you go? Now, is that a quantum ogre? Well, I don't think so, because which direction you go is up to you, and you can change at any time, because the party can do that. That's much more interesting than, oh, we've got to go get this orb that someone has. Well, that may be part of it, but I tell you that there's this other artifact over here that may be as equally as powerful. So do you want to get the orb, or do you want to go get the rod, or do you want to go get this helm, or whatever? There are a whole bunch of options for the players to decide, and they may hear rumors and so on. And as the DM, for me, I constantly try and take down notes on things that the players say they give me ideas for new quests, so that I can figure out how to integrate them into the world, so that the world is constantly changing, because there's new quests and new plots added. So that's the style that I try to follow, which is perhaps different from the others. That's why I very rarely, actually I think it's only once or twice in my life have I ever ran a canned module. And even when I did that, I had problems, because it all seemed too set and written down in concrete, and I prefer much more malleable. For those of people have seen when I've done some gaming, I've got some old videos when I've got there, I get it back when I do the gaming through Google Hangouts, and there have been a couple of times where, oh, the map, I accidentally, because I'm using multiple screens, I accidentally display the map of the adventure to the party. And they go, oh! And then I suddenly realize that, and I go, oh, well, that's easy to fix. I just changed the map. And I do that on the fly. So that the map now is different from what the players last saw, and that's during an adventure. So why not? Everything is malleable. It's you can change the map, you can change the quest, you can change the characters, the NPCs to your heart's desire. You're the dungeon master. You can make those changes, and if you make them in response to things that are happening with the dungeon, with the players, or in the world, you can introduce. If you're into politics and want to introduce some of those thoughts and ideas, you can. But it's sort of the question of where do you want to take it, and do you want to have everything prepared and canned? I try and prepare a lot, and I perhaps over-prepare. I know that. But the goal that I have is I want to have the places where I can add things to the adventure at any time. So I'd like to hear what kind of games you like to play, what kind of games you like to run if you're a dungeon master. How do you like that? Do you like it where it's all set in stone and it's the module that's directing you to go this way and do this thing? Or do you like it? And it's the big question. And this is the key. How frequently does the dungeon master ask you, what do you want to do now? If he really doesn't, or it's only at the start, or that, but if you hear about new options, and then the dungeon master asks you, so where are you going now? That's my style of play. Thank you. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.